Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Podcast as we hang out with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck. I'm Devon Givens. As always, we do have our president of basketball operations, Bree, with us. And today, as we get closer to the NBA draft, a lot of buzz out there for many teams and different players, the prospects going here or there, big boards fluctuating. We figured it's been a while since we did a mock draft of the lottery, so let's knock another mock draft out. And as you know, speed round mock draft.
My microphone was not in front of me.
That's all right. They heard you anyway.
I was so excited for the mock that I pushed the mic aside.
So let's talk about some basketball. And we do go in order. We'll go in order of the picks from 1, 2, 3 for this one. I'll go first. Derek will go second. Kyle will go third. And that means he is picking for the Philadelphia 76ers for the first time in the mock draft. Fellas, let's get to it as we go through a speed round of the lottery edition mock draft here. And for me, starting it off for the Dallas Mavericks, no surprise here, folks. We don't have to spend a lot of time. You know we're going with Cooper Flagg, visiting with the Dallas Mavericks, I believe, very soon. And just to kind of cement it, and I don't think he needs any more than that, but to cement it, Cooper Flagg to the Dallas Mavericks to start off the 2025 NBA draft.
Yep. With number 2, now there might be some uncertainty over who will be making the selection, but Dylan Harper is going number 2. I think it would be reckless to take anybody else. If that's not who you end up wanting, if you are the Spurs, I think you trade it, but I do think you select him with the number 2 pick, and then you go from there. It might be a deal that's worked out ahead of the draft. Who knows? There's been a lot of buzz about that recently, but I do think he should be the number 2 pick.
A lot of jumbling there in the back.
And number 3, your Philadelphia 76ers select Trey Johnson, guard, Texas. Derek's shaking his head over there.
I agree with you.
Because he agrees.
I'm shaking my head for all the people who are going to be angry at you, and I'm happy it's not me.
So, Trey, the case I've been making for weeks on this show, Trey has perhaps the signature skill of the draft, the pull-up shooting and the shooting in general, the ability to be an on-ball and off-ball threat. So the star ceiling is there. He makes the star shots at a rate that is really encouraging. He played in America's Toughest Conference last year, showed out despite being in an archaic offense under a so-so coach who did not do him a lot of favors. And if you're in the mindset that, hey, the Sixers are in a rare spot here, they're a good team, at least a good team on paper, that has a premium pick, why not take the home run swing, right? I like VJ Edgecombe a lot, but is more on this is a guy I feel safe about, not necessarily a guy I think is going to be a star. I actually think the same is true of Ace Bailey. There are a lot of people who say low floor, high ceiling. I actually think there's a higher floor than people think and a lower ceiling than people believe, because I think Ace is a defender long term. I think he's got good size. I think he's got good off-ball offense, and those are reasons you consider him, especially with the fit that he slides into the lineup for Philadelphia. But ultimately, I believe in the star equity of Trey more than him and more than VJ. I think some of the concerns, the defense, maybe you just put him in a situation where he's not doing as much offensively and he tries harder. The background has been excellent on him. Good character reviews, great interviews leading into this process. So Trey Johnson, you are a 76er.
Really like that pick. And if I were choosing for the Philadelphia 76ers today, I would have most likely gone in that direction.
All right.
As well. So good stuff.
Final big boards are coming eventually. So we'll get to argue about it later.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. And of course, Sixers fans will certainly have an opinion on Trey Johnson at pick number 3 from Kyle Newbeck. All right, let's move on to pick number 4. I am the Charlotte Hornets. And I'm going with, since some names are really left here, some good names here that we thought could go at 3. I'm going to go with, for the Charlotte Hornets, VJ Edgecombe. I go with Edgecombe here because with Charles Lee as the head coach, and you have hit on, certainly you have your franchise player in LaMelo Ball. However long he's there, who knows, but he is the face of the franchise. You also got it right with Brandon Miller. So when you look at now trying to actually build out a team and what would work for this basketball team, you put a defensive-minded player there that has the room to grow, all the good stuff that we heard Scott Drew talk about for the Sixers potentially at number 3, but he also mentioned for any team. And with them, if they're really trying to, we think, right, trying to put a real team together with some real stuff, maybe the questions that are there for another player that I'm sure we'll hear in the next few picks, they don't want to go in that direction and simply go with a player that can just come in and give you all-around basketball, and that is VJ Edgecombe for the Hornets at 4.
Talk to me, Derek. Who's Utah picking?
Well, with Utah, I think Utah was probably going to go with whoever out of VJ or Ace fell. So we will go with Ace Bailey here. I think they just need an upside swing. And I think this is the best upside swing left in the draft. I thought the 4 decision or the decision at 4 was interesting, but I do think this is probably the right spot where Ace Bailey has enough star equity, has enough unique offensive skill set, has the ability to play a little bit on ball, off ball, that I think he has a chance to grow. And I think this, like I said, here in Utah, I think they need to take an upside swing. And certainly Ace does have some upside there.
So Washington now in a very interesting spot here at number 6. I think you could justify Malawach because of how Sarr plays. Despite they drafted a front court player, I think offensively he wants to drift away. And that combination in the front court is interesting to me. But I'm going to take a guy that I simply value higher, that I think is a long-term, very good offensive player that will fit with when they eventually get their cornerstone guy. This guy will fit. Concanipple at 6 to Washington.
All right. So that leaves me at number 7 for the New Orleans Pelicans, with so much buzz going around there, where you have your star wing. It seems like he might be the only untouchable, even though we try to put him into the conversation, Trey Murphy, but everyone else on board. Outside of their center, maybe also staying in Yves Missi, Joe Dumars, and the front office decide to go at Jeremiah Fears at pick number 7. Give them the point guard potentially of the future, and give him the runway to make his mistakes with this young team, but also build out, as Mike Miller, NBA champion, said, to become the all-star point guard in this league. Jeremiah Fears to the Pelicans at 7.
That is an interesting one. All right. I think here with the Nets at 8, this is not necessarily a spot where I think I was hoping one of Fears or Khan would fall, if I'm being completely honest there. I do think, I'm going to go a little bit out of left field here. We're going to go with Noah Asengwe here. This is a spot where, I think that kind of defensive versatility is something that could really look well with the Nets. I don't necessarily want to go big here for the Nets, like a true center. So I crossed off Malawach and Queen. And I just think he has one of the more unique profiles and the chance to really be one of the more versatile defenders in the class. I think what he's shown here with the playoffs overseas, he's played real well and started to showcase that he's putting some things together. I'm not sure if he has, maybe the offensive upside to be taken here with a top 8 pick, but I think the defensive versatility, the room to grow, and a unique physical profile, I think he could be real good.
All right. At number 9 with the Toronto Raptors, I'm going to keep it simple and take Malawach. I think that they have a lot of offense-first players or guys who are going to have the ball in their hands. And if you get them a defensive anchor, a guy who can grow, certainly there have been some connections between Masai Ujiri and Malawach. I think it's the most straightforward pick, so that's the one I'm going to make. Nothing crazy here. I would consider a Yakachonis here as just like a big playmaker. The other thing, I don't know what is going on with like the visa stuff with Malawach, and if there are complications that would come out of him being drafted by a Canadian team and all that. So I'm just assuming with this pick that all that is on the straight and narrow, but otherwise you'd have to definitely go elsewhere.
All right, so pick number 10 for me, going with the playoff-bound Western Conference Houston Rockets, and I'm taking Colin Murray-Boyles here at this spot.
Love that one.
Just more defense there for that basketball team that we already know about, along with Tari Eason and having Amen Thompson there. You add another piece like that, and maybe that even frees them up if they decide to look to move Jabari Smith, and they add something there, but bringing Colin Murray-Boyles there to that type of environment with Ime Udoka, going with CMB for the Houston Rockets.
All right, Portland 11, going with Carter Bryant. Real good plug-and-play guy, we feel like. Good defensive player, shot the ball well, thinking fit into a number of lineups, and would help a core that I think is starting to ascend. So I think we're going Carter Bryant there.
All right, this is not who I was expecting to take at 12 for Chicago, but because he's here and I think it's good value, I'm taking Yakachonis. I think they have Giddey, right, who broke out at the end of last year. Kobe White is another guard who I like a good bit, but sounds like and he's potentially on the moving forward. Derek Queen is good value here as well. I like him a lot, but I'm just saying I don't necessarily love Josh Giddey and a non-shooter as your lead playmaker. And I think having Yakachonis in a situation where he doesn't have to necessarily be the on-ball guy, but you tap into the playmaking, tap into the shot making and the off-ball ability. I think this is a good pick for them, just a good value pick and a guy who maybe fits their vision of what they want to do long term.
All right, like that one. 2 picks here for the Atlanta Hawks at 13 and 22. So we're only picking lottery, but for their first pick in the first round, because of the value, because you can add offense and maybe some defense later, I do go and I say hello, especially with Clint Capella possibly out. Derek Queen, how you doing? Welcome to Atlanta, and see how that
great song,
fits
by
in.
the way.
Yes, Jermaine Dupri, you know, and Ludacris. I'll take that one there. Derek Queen, good value at 13 to the Atlanta Hawks. Good coach, too. So I wonder how he would use that with Quinn Snyder at 13.
All right, and to wrap this up here with the Spurs, we will go with Cedric Coward.
Oh.
You know, they obviously have their big man set for the next decade, hopefully, knock on wood. Got a lot of guards. That is a point of contention here with the top of the draft. Coward can slot right in as an off-ball shooting, has a great physical profile wing, and I think he has room to grow. He's really turned it on. I mean, he played 7 games, but really looked like he was starting to take steps as a playmaker and initiator, and I think even though he's an upperclassman, there's still a bit of room.
A lot of good names left for the remainder of the first round. Maybe we'll do something with that a little bit later. Stay tuned. But for now, that is our lottery mock draft from the PHLY Sixers podcast. For Derek, Kyle, and Bree, I'm Devon. We'll catch up with you soon. Make sure you tune in to us every day, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. The NBA draft is heating up, man. We're getting closer and closer. Stay tuned to PHLY Sixers for all of your Sixers news.